Hello and welcome to Bhavna's Kitchen and Living. In today's episode, I have a very interesting topic for you all. Older versus younger generation cooking thoughts.
We like things kind of measured out for us. We don't need a million things in our kitchen.
Oh my god, what do you do with all of these containers?
It boggles my mind, I wonder why they need all of these things. And
to me personally, cooking is fun, freeing, and essential to achieving health and happiness. Unfortunately, we have handed over the act of cooking, this unique task that makes us human, to the food industry. We have become food consumers and not food producers or preparers, and in doing so, we have lost our connection to our own world and to ourselves. From my end, what I see is that people are cooking less than ever before. In old times, family gatherings were happening frequently to get involved everyone in the kitchen, to make cooking fun, and at the same time sharing kitchen tips and tricks with each other. According to the study, millennials are the top generation investing in meal delivery services and utilizing internet videos for cooking advice. Many practices developed by cooks of our moms and grandmothers are still valuable today and can be real time savers in the kitchen. And today I have a very special guest for you, Ashna Patel. Ashna has her own YouTube channel where she shares her passion for keeping home very nice, neat, clean and organized. So if you are into keeping your home neat, clean, tidy, organized, please go check out her channel and you will get tons of ideas. Hi Ashna, how are you?
hi, I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm doing wonderful. How are your boys doing?
They're good. My husband actually took them out to the park, so I have some quiet time, which is nice. It's really nice outside today. I have all the windows open and I feel like a sense of calm for a second.
Yes, weather is getting better, but for us it's getting way too hot already. So so should we begin?
Yeah, sure. Let's go for it. Yeah, so actually, I've been craving this marble cake for like weeks now, and I remember it was actually one of your first videos I had watched back in the day, and so I thought I would actually try it out. So let me show you how it came out. It's humongous. This is how it looks.
That looks
so it turned out really, really good. My boys are so excited for it.
Right.
Really good. So I think actually what I'm going to do now is like slice it up, maybe freeze half of it, and I might like pop it in the toaster or something in the morning with some butter. Like it's going to be really good. So I'm excited. Thank you for sharing that recipe. Do you actually want to see? I had recorded myself making it.
Oh yeah, sure.
Hello everyone and welcome to Bhavna's Kitchen. Wait, is this my kitchen? Hello everyone, welcome to Ashna's Kitchen. In today's video, I'm actually trying a recipe from Bhavna's Kitchen and Living. I'm going to make one of her old school recipes, this marble cake that she had made years and years ago, but I've been wanting to eat a marble cake for weeks now, and so I thought, let me go ahead and finally make this. Now, her recipe is an eggless version, so I'm going to make it without eggs, but if I feel like the batter needs, a little bit more kind of liquid, I might just go ahead and add 1 or 2 eggs. And then the other 2 ingredients that I'm adding in that are just a little bit different is a little bit of salt. I think you should add salt in all of your baked goods. It really brings out the flavor in chocolate and just all the other ingredients. So always add just a little bit of salt to your baked goods. And then I'm also going to melt some chocolate chips. And I'm going to add that to the chocolate batter just to give it a little bit more richness, and I just want to see how it comes out like that. So I'm really excited to make this. I've been wanting it for weeks, and I told my kids that when they wake up from their nap, they could have some cake, and so they're actually sleeping in their room well, they're not sleeping, they're in their room, and I told them to take a nap, and so let's see how that goes. So you might hear them in the background, but I'm going to get started on this cake. Let me actually bring you in a little bit closer so you can see exactly what I'm doing. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is just sift some flour, baking powder, baking soda, and salt. And I'm going to get that into this bowl. These are going to be the dry ingredients. And by the way, I also have the oven preheating at 350 degrees. So that's going to be ready when we are. So I'm just going to take some flour here. And here we have some baking powder, baking soda, and salt. And then I'm just going to run that through the sift, just like this. So next we're going to work on the wet ingredients, and I'm going to use my mixer here, but you don't have to if you don't have one, but I really like using mine. So I'm just going to open it, and I have the paddle attachment on. And so you're going to use 1 stick of butter, and this needs to be nice and soft. So I took this out in the morning time. So now, as you can see, it's really nice and soft. So I'm going to get that in here. And then you're going to use 1 can of sweetened condensed milk, and she says to use sweetened version, that way you don't have to add too much extra sugar, but we will add in just a little bit, but this is what I'm using, so in that goes. And here, like I said, we're just adding very little sugar, so I'm going to add that in as well. Okay, so we're just going to kind of whisk that together until it's nice and smooth. Then just add some milk. And then I'm also going to go ahead and add some vanilla extract. So at this point, I've decided to go ahead and just add some eggs in. I really want this to have a nice fluffy texture. So I'm going to just add them. I have the eggs, so I might as well go ahead and do it. So I'm going to put that into here and just give the liquid mixture one final mix. One little secret I've learned with baking is that it's okay to overmix your liquid side, but you really don't want to overmix once you add your dry ingredients. So I usually really mix my liquid ingredients really well, and then when I go to add in my dry ingredients, I'm very light with it. So now I'm just going to add the dry ingredients into the wet ingredients very slowly, get that mixed up, and then we're going to divide the batter into 2. One's going to be chocolate and one's going to be vanilla, and then we're going to get everything assembled and into the oven. And as you can see, I'm just really lightly incorporating this in. I don't want to overmix. So here I've separated some batter out, and this is going to be my chocolate batter. So into this, we're going to add some cocoa powder. This is unsweetened. I'm going to add that in, and then I'm also going to add some melted chocolate chips. So I'm going to add that in here. Like I said, I just really want this chocolate cake to have a really rich taste, so that is why I'm just testing it out. I want to see how it's going to be. Another trick that I've learned with baking over the years is to stick to the measurements, at least if it's your first time making that particular recipe. But I think once you get the hang of baking, you start to realize what is going to work and what's not going to work, and you start to get a little bit more confidence and play around. But still, even after years of baking, I still like to follow recipes exactly, at least the first time, like I said. And so if you're just starting out with baking, follow the instructions, and little by little you'll start gaining more confidence. So as you can see, it's a very mousse-like consistency, and so I'm really excited to see how this is going to turn out. So this is what it looks like out of the oven. As you can see, it's a really big loaf. So we'll see how this comes out and how it cuts, but I'm really excited. And this little middle texture here is what I look for when I'm making a loaf. That's beautiful right there. So I'm really excited. Once my kids are out of their room after nap time, we're going to dig into this. Is it yummy? It's warm. Does it look yummy? Eat it yet?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Does it look good?
So yeah, absolutely, the cake looks so gorgeous. Actually, that used to be one of our favorite as well, like a family favorite. But then my boys got hooked onto Nutella frosted cupcakes. I don't know if you like those. Those are really they're delicious. Even I love it. I mean, I'm not so much into like sweet stuff, but I kind of like that self-roasted Nutella cupcake. So I think you want to try that for your boys.
Yeah, well, actually, I had asked my husband to print the recipe for this one at work, and he printed the wrong recipe. He printed a marble like cheesecake, and I was like, okay, I need to try this next. Now, like that looks so good too. So that might be in a couple of weeks. I might have to try that one out too.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So yeah, let's insert that clip then from yesterday of how I made everything, and I hope everybody enjoys it.
That's great. Yeah. Alright, so today actually Ashna is going to share young generation tips, and so I would really love to hear that. So Ashna, can you go ahead and start talking what you have to share?
Yeah, so when I first got married, I felt not a lot of pressure, but I knew I was expected to start kind of taking over in the kitchen, and I wanted to as well. So, I started from scratch before marriage. Of course, my parents didn't really expect me to get in the kitchen all the time and cook every single day or anything like that. I just did it if I really wanted to, and I did like baking, so I would bake often, but, I really had zero experience when it came to cooking. And so I really wanted to share some tips that I had to help people who are just starting to cook or who just, they just want to get into the kitchen a little bit more. So my first kind of point that I wanted to bring up was how in the younger generation, like my generation, we like things kind of measured out for us, right? Like we want 1 tablespoon, 1 teaspoon. We want to know how many cups. We don't like to really, experiment too much until we gain that confidence. So I actually had a really hard time learning how to cook for my mom because she's so good at cooking and so experienced. She would just throw things in there and I would be like, wait, stop, tell me like how many teaspoons, how many tables? She'd be like, what are you talking, who cares, just throw it in there, right? So I actually had a hard time learning from her how to cook because she was just too kind of advanced, right? But then at that time, like you started posting videos on YouTube, and there was a lot of videos out there, a lot of recipes you can follow, and so I started to kind of watch those, and that helped me, like seeing visually how to make certain things helped me out a lot. And so that's my first tip for the younger generation is don't feel overwhelmed by the older generation with their level of experience. They've been cooking for years, decades, a long time. Just kind of go with the flow, do your own research, learn how you kind of learn, and just don't feel overwhelmed. And eventually you will get to a point where you have that experience and you can just throw things in there without having to measure everything. So I kind of wanted to ask you now, what do you have to say about that?
Yeah, actually, now I have been cooking over 2 decades, right? And what I feel from my end is, of course, when it comes to baking, you really want to keep all the measurements in your mind, and when you actually want to follow all the measurements. But when it comes to like normal everyday cooking, I think one may want to get into that habit of like experimenting, some sort of freedom. When you have that freedom in the kitchen, like when you are not following so much some sort of recipe or some sort of ingredient, when the experiment part, takes place, I think the pleasure is there. Like, you are cooking without any worry. Of course, to do this, you have to know your ingredients really well, especially spices, because you don't want to overpower your food and stuff like that. But yes, I mean, it eventually comes with your, like, the more you cook, right? And so it's not like an instant or overnight thing that you are going to have that sort of freedom. But I would say that more you cook and the more you stay in the kitchen, you get it. Yeah.
And I think that comes over time. Like now, after maybe 6 years now of really being in the kitchen a lot, I'm now at the point where I don't always have to pull up my recipe book to follow something that I make all the time now. I kind of just know this general steps, and I kind of just throw in whatever I want. But yeah, definitely when you're learning though, it's nice to be able to follow something. And I think that's how like we, like the younger generation kind of learns too. We're more visual. So yeah.
So the one tip I would say here is that, like, in the very beginning, I think just go with the recipe that has like a less ingredients. So
Yes.
you are more confident to cook anything and everything, or even when it comes to baking, just choose the recipes that has like a less ingredients.
Yeah. And actually I'll just skip over to another point that I had then, like you were saying, like some simple recipes. So I think also, you know, in the older generation, they had more complicated meals, like 10-course meal. You need like rice, you need this, that. And again, that kind of, I remember at the beginning, I would get overwhelmed by that. I was like, how am I going to make this, even a 3-course meal? I was like, how am I going to do this? You know, after coming home from work, it takes me time. You might be able to whip that up in an hour or under. For me, I mean, I need like 3 hours to make that, you know? And so it would stress me out. But over the years, I've kind of given myself some sort of break, and I've come to terms, you know, I don't need to make a 10-course meal for my family. And my in-laws actually live with us too, and so they're a little bit, of course, more traditional than me and my husband are. We like more simple, more like American style foods, whereas they want more Indian food and maybe you know, multiple things. But I think over the years they've gotten used to kind of simplified meals as well. And so, you know, I have kind of learned to simplify things and not stress out about making a 10-course meal. Back in the day, you know, maybe they just had more time, or that is how they prefer to eat. So that's fine, that works for them. But in today's world, you know, a lot of us, you know, work outside of the home. We come home at 4 or 5 o'clock. It's hard to whip up that sort of meal every single day. So yeah, that's another tip that I have, is just kind of simplify things, take that pressure off of yourself. Just kind of, you know, make 1 or 2 things for your meal, and that's perfect.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. One can always come up with some family recipes to feed their entire family. It doesn't have to be always like elaborated cooking. Many raw food can be eaten with very less efforts as well. So just come up with the recipe that fits to your lifestyle, and it's not that hard. Yeah, so you can just go ahead with your next tip, Ashna.
So the next thing I wanted to talk about is how we have access to so much more technology now. So I already mentioned that we have videos that we can follow and things like that. But now we also have so many wonderful gadgets. So you have the Instant Pot, you have air fryer, you have these blenders that blend the heck out of everything. You know, we have so many different gadgets. And yeah, you don't want to buy all of them. You want to kind of pick 1 or 2 that's really going to be helpful. But it's so nice that we have these things now. And I know in the older times, you know, they didn't have this stuff. They kind of had to prepare everything from scratch and go the longer process. So again, if you're just starting out cooking, I would invest in maybe 1 or 2 of these gadgets that you really think you'll use. And if it were up to me, I would really recommend probably the Instant Pot. I think it's so helpful. Like, you can get everything ready in there. You can even set up the timer so that when you come home from work, your meal is ready to go. So that's great. And it even has like the slow cook function. So it's, I don't know, you should really try to invest in certain things. We have this technology, so why not make use of it, right? And yeah, and the, you know, older generation, they didn't have this stuff. So I think we're really lucky, and we should make use of all these gadgets that we have now.
Yeah, that's true actually. Of course, like when you cook with, you know, with less gadgets, it's a less processed food, right? But then with the time, we have to change, right? And so, yeah, whatever you could do like with the less gadgets, that would be awesome. But Instant Pot, I highly recommend, because it actually cooks slow. Not like the traditional conventional like pressure cooker, like a stovetop pressure cooker. Like, I mean, you could actually, you know, manage with that, even just keeping the flame on a low. You are cooking actually that way on a low heat, and then slow process, you know, slow cooking. But you know, with many advanced features like, you know, delay feature, and you know, setting up, even now you can connect with Wi-Fi and all that. So yes, it does make life a lot more easier. And I am actually so much into Instant Pot because it allows me to cook multiple recipes at once. You know, I have like several videos about like how I use my Instant Pot to prepare food efficiently and with less efforts, right?
Yes.
So yeah, definitely. But what I used to do is that you don't have to buy all the gadgets at once. Go one by one. Like every year, I invest in like one gadget
That's a good idea.
that I think that is going to help help me making like a family food efficiently in the kitchen.
Yep.
So yeah, as you said, you don't have to go with each and every gadget, but analyze what your needs, what your family needs are, and then as per those needs, buy gadgets as needed. I mean, if the product comes in a market, it doesn't mean that we all need it. We all need them, but try to think about your own family, and I think you get like the idea of what you want.
And I think too, like the newer generation, I know me personally, I would be so intimidated by a pressure cooker. Like I just never really understood the concept of how this thing works, and I know there's been times where that thing has blown up in my house, and that has always scared me. And so the Instant Pot is great because it's quiet, number one. It's a matter of a button, not really kind of playing around with that, whatever you call it. So it's really, I don't know, I'm really enjoying it. So I highly recommend Instant Pot.
You still have to be careful around Instant Pot because you want to use all those functions with very care, put enough water in your cooker, but then seal your vent, and depending on what recipes you're making. So of course, less worry, but still, I would say that
you still have to be careful.
Although safety in mind while using even electric pressure cooker. Go ahead with your next point. I mean, if you are done with this point,
Yes, I'm done. I have a paper here, so I'm going off my paper. Oh yes, so the next thing I wanted to kind of talk about was just how, again, in the younger generation, I feel like we don't need a million things in our kitchen. So I know a lot of my own family, they have so much stuff in their kitchen, in their pantry, and when I see it, I start going a little bit crazy inside. I start wondering, why do you need 10 different pots and pans, and why is your pantry so full? As if there's going to be a shutdown of the grocery stores. I don't know, there's a million empty yogurt containers. What are you going to do with this? And it's it boggles my mind. I wonder why they need all of these things. And that got me thinking as well, again, the younger generation, I think we like more simplicity. We don't like to keep a ton of things in our kitchen. At least I don't anyways. The grocery store is 5, 10, 20 minutes away. You can always grab something, right? You don't need to have 10 years worth of things in your pantry. It's going to go bad at some point too. So I don't understand it, right? So that's another thing I always, even my own family, I'm like, why do you need all this stuff? And I don't know, to them, it's just maybe it's how they grew up, or I don't know what it is, but definitely I like to keep things simple in my kitchen. If 3 pans, 1 set of spoons is plenty for us. We don't need a whole lot, and I like it that way. It helps me kind of, I don't know, cook more at ease, if that makes sense.
You organize at the same time because then you have less gadgets to deal with.
Yeah,
and I totally agree with that. For some people, they just want to avoid a frequent trip to the grocery, and so they kind of store many items. And to me personally, I store because I don't have an Indian grocery nearby, I store all kinds of beans, dry beans, lentils, so all sorts of legumes that that's our staple food. So all sorts of grains. So you may want to stock your pantry with the items that don't go bad as quickly as compared to perishable items.
Right.
And those items, actually, the vegetables, dairy, you can always find in any supermarkets now.
Right. Yeah. Yep.
Yes, but it's just that sometimes it's our nature of buying impulsive, impulsive shopping things. And so I used to do that a lot. I would prepare this, and then I would just get that stuff, and then it would just stay there, and then go back. So now what I do nowadays is I just get I take the list, I get items that I need, and then if I see something new, then I tell my mind that okay, I'm going to grab this item when on my next trip. So because if not, maybe I can go specially, make a special trip to the store to get that item, but not now. So
right.
tell your mind that, okay, well, this, just get it when you are ready to try it out.
Yeah.
So yeah, I definitely agree with you that we don't have to have so much of stuff. Even if you like stock pantry with lots of items, then again you will get confused with
right.
Unless you are very good at like as I said, because I've been cooking over 2 decades now, and so now I know what I need, and how am I going to manage with all these things.
Right. Yeah.
But in the beginning, just go with like a small packs like of
exactly. Yeah.
whatever you need, and then try one at a time if you are just a beginner. So yeah, that's really,
and that's what it is. Like I would see even like my parents buying this huge bag of rice, and it's just like, really, like how much rice do you need? How long is too much? And they'd be like, oh, it's on sale. They're like, who cares if it's on sale? Like, you're just spending that money for no reason. Your big bag of rice is gonna get old eventually, right? You want to kind of anyway. So I would just poke a lot of fun, and I just think it's funny. Like a lot of times people grab all this stuff because it's on sale, but it's, I don't know. To me, it's like, really, how much of a sale is it? Like you're spending money you might not even need to spend at all. So, anyways, I always think that's kind of funny, and such a huge difference between the older generation and newer generation for sure.
Yeah.
So yeah, but yeah, leading to my next point then, like you were mentioning about, keeping track of what you have in your pantry, making sure you're kind of using those things up. So I think, again, that kind of leads into meal planning, meal prepping. I know the older generation, like they did a lot of meal prepping, I would say, like prepping a lot of things and putting in the freezer and things like that. Maybe, they didn't have access to those ingredients, or for whatever the reason was, I don't really know exactly, but I think meal prepping, planning is important, especially in our generation. A lot of women now work outside of the home, and so, you come home 4 or 5 o'clock, you really need to have some sort of game plan as to what you're going to make every day. It really does help kind of make things easier. So I think, again, if you're starting out with cooking, you're feeling a little bit overwhelmed of what you're going to make every day, and you're also working outside of the home, come up with a meal plan. I think that helps a lot, at least for 1 week. I know some people plan like a whole month even in advance. That's a little bit too much for me. 1 week is good enough. And just kind of write things down. Same thing when it comes to like meal prepping. I like to prep in the evening time, whatever vegetables I'm going to use the next day. That's just one less thing. I'm a stay-at-home mom, so I have the morning to kind of get things ready as well. And so that is when I like to kind of prep things. I think it's really important to do that. And I know, again, in older generation, they kind of just make things out of nowhere. So it could be like 5 o'clock in the evening, like, oh, let's make this, and they'll quickly be able to whip it up, right? And that's great. Maybe that's why I guess they have all these things in the freezer, so you can kind of randomly make all these things. Whereas for us, we don't maybe keep all that stuff, so we really have to, prepare and plan what we're going to make. But yeah, like I don't know. I think meal prepping is just really important. It's helpful, especially in our times.
Yeah, it is. And actually, though I'm also at the stay-at-home. I mean, I worked like several years full time, and then I was raising my 2 boys at the same time. So it kind of sometimes get like overwhelming, as you said. And so that time you actually have to have a plan for what you're going to prepare throughout the week. Even today, like though I am at home, I still need to plan so that I can grocery according to what I'm going to prepare this week.
Yeah.
I may not be prepping all sorts of things, but I still need to give myself kind of idea that what am I going to cook so that I can get the ingredients. And so then I keep on thinking, because I have like we are 3 generations staying in the house in our family. 2 seniors, 2 adults, and 2 grown.
Yeah, same here.
So sometimes I have to prepare like a different food for my boys, because they kind of need more nutrition than us. Like as like we are aging, like our food is a little bit on a lighter side, and I don't give that food to my boys because they need different nutrition.
A little bit more heavier.
Yes. So that way, if you plan, I mean, like since I've been cooking a lot, I mean, I do get idea, even if I have to make something spontaneous, I mean, I'm ready whenever you tell me. So, and for that, I have to have things ready, you know, in the pantry.
Right. That makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, I would prefer more fresh than frozen, but I mean, I would prefer more fresh than frozen.
Right.
But you know, I still feel that you have to stock your you know, refrigerator. It could be even freezer. It could be a pantry. You know, just to help you, you know, not too stressed out. You know.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's just you need like that good kind of limit, I guess, right? Like, I don't know. I think a lot of people, like even I do. I have an extra freezer in my garage, but my husband and I always joke and say how unnecessary it is. Like, yeah, it's helpful sometimes, but really, do you need like an extra freezer in your garage? Like, it just depends, right? It depends on what your kind of lifestyle is, how you like to eat, and all of that. So again, it just depends, and again, do what works for you. So, you know, just because I'm saying you're in the younger generation, maybe it is helpful for you to stock a lot in your freezer, and that's totally fine. So I guess that this really wasn't a tip I was going to mention, but it's don't really follow what other people are doing. Just do what works for you. Learn from other people, like learn from the older generation. They clearly know what they're doing, right? So learn from them, learn from the internet. There's so much stuff now on the internet teaching you how to prepare certain ingredients and, you know, freeze it and all of that. So just learn and just know it all takes time. Like I said, I've been doing it for 6 years now. I feel like I'm at a good place, but still always learning. So never really ends in terms of learning, but you do eventually gain that confidence, and it really does get a lot better, and you start to really enjoy cooking as well. So
that's true. Yeah. I would say still keep on cooking so that, you know, you don't get discouraged, and
right.
Because this is going to be with us. We have to cook no matter what, and so I would say that there should be at least one family member that should be like cooking. You know, home cooked food is always
right.
the best for the entire family, right? So
yeah.
I mean, once in a while going out is okay, or, you know, having a delivery at home is okay, but I strongly believe that there should be at least one cook.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Oh yeah. So yeah, that's actually, we covered everything that I wanted to talk about today. So it was really nice chatting with you. I'm glad I got to hear some of your side, and actually it did open my eyes. Like, you know, there's certain things that make sense that the older generation does, and maybe I'll try to incorporate some of them into my life.
Yes, I mean, the time has changed, and a lot of things are changing very quickly, and so it's really hard to cope with. But even today, I feel that, you know, whatever I saw my mom cooking, I still implement, you know, a lot of things that I just even didn't cook anything with her, but I still, like, for instance, when I wrote my you know, like, cookbook, Cooking Smart for Instant Pot, you know, that kind of gave me that idea, because my mom used to use like a tall aluminum container where she would just stack, you know, all the pots inside just one big pot and cook everything at once. And so I'm like, so then I thought, oh yeah, I could actually use those you know, techniques and with like a new modern gadget. And so, you know, that's how I came up with like a pot in pot method.
Yeah. Oh, I've tried those, and that's such a genius idea. Helps a lot. Yeah.
And so, definitely. If you are so much into meal prep things, then you can, you know, boil your beans, you know, grains, you know, or steam vegetables and stuff like that. Like, prepare actually on the day that you are off, and then, you know, keep ready everything for the whole week. That's such a you know, great idea that you can follow.
For sure. Oh yeah. And that helps, like, then that day that you are making that meal, it helps so much to even have the smallest thing ready. Like, even for me, if I'm making something, even just having onion and tomatoes cut up ready to go, that helps a lot, like a lot. So yeah.
Well, you are inspired to start.
Yeah.
You have few things ready. What I see from mine is that, to me personally, you know, I'm inspired to step into my kitchen if I have many things ready. So. So let's go and, you know, just throw it and get that you know, recipe done and stuff like that. So prepping is the key.
For sure, yeah.
All right, Ashna. So that was you know, great talking with you, and you just, you know, you came up with point-to-point tips and tricks you can use in the kitchen. Yeah, so I'm happy that people will get to learn a lot from your tips, and I highly recommend everyone to check out Ashna's YouTube channel. Just to really amazing channel. If you are a beginner, like to keep your home tidy, organized, she's got you covered for almost everything.
I'm your girl for that.
So Ashna, thank you so much for coming.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. It was really nice chatting with you.
Yeah, all right, Ashna. So we'll see you again then. Thank you.
Sounds good.
Again. Bye.
Bye. Chat later.
I hope you enjoyed watching this video. Please do like and comment below, and don't forget to subscribe to this channel for many upcoming videos. You can follow me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Pinterest. Bhavna's Kitchen is everywhere. You can download Bhavna's Kitchen app totally free on your iOS, Android and many other mobile devices. You can watch me on a big TV screen using Roku, Amazon Fire or YouTube app itself. Thanks for watching and see you soon.